Welcome to the video for lesson 432. We are on page 11 of your chapter 4 note packet. So make sure you turn to page 11. Today we're going to talk more about how we combine our like terms. So at the top you'll see can only and then 3 blanks. This is very important. We can only combine like terms. So I need you to make sure you write that in the top. Combine like terms. So we've talked about this like terms in the past. Like terms mean that they have either the same variable and exponent, or if they're just constants, meaning that they don't really have a variable attached to them. So in order to complete this page, I need you to again have 3 colored highlighters. Remember, if you don't have highlighters, you can grab crayons or colored pencils, whatever you need to use, but we need to have those 3 colors available. So if you need to, pause the video now to go get yourselves 3 crayons, highlighters, colored pencils, some things that we can show what our like terms are. Okay, so question number 1. So the question is, what are our like terms? Well, I see a variable, and remember, when we're combining like terms, I'm always thinking of that standard form as well. So I'm looking for a highest exponent or making sure that my variables come before my constant. So when I look at my terms here, I have a 6y, -4, and a positive y. The y's are like terms. So you'll notice that I did a couple things here. I highlighted my y's and I also put a 1 next to this y that was by itself. When there's just a letter by itself, it's implied that there's one of them. So I'm going to put the 1 in front because 1 times anything is still the same. So 1 times y is still 1y. That's why we're able to put that 1 in there. But we need to just sneak that 1 in front of a variable when it's by itself. So now it's more obvious that I'm adding a 6y, and notice I highlighted the plus sign so I know that the y is a positive 1y. So 6y plus 1y equals 7y. Now I'm not done yet because if I look, I haven't highlighted all my terms, and this is why I like to use highlighters because it's obvious if I miss something and I can see the color. I'm a visual learner, so I really like to see the color that keeps my terms together. So the next thing I see is this -4. -4 is the constant, meaning it doesn't have a variable with it. So that just comes after my 7y. So my answer here, when I simplify and combine my like terms, is that I have this 7y minus 4. You don't need to highlight the answer. I'm just highlighting it so you can see that that is my answer, so it looks a little different to you. But we just need to circle the 7y minus 4. That is my answer. Okay, let's try another example. Now you'll notice here that we just have an 8 at the end and it's a minus, but there's no term here. That's because we left this blank so you could stick with us as we're going through our notes. So I want you to first put a G here. So the question is -12h plus 5g plus 8 minus g. And remember, we're going to sneak in that 1 in front of the g, because when I have a variable by itself, it's implied that there is one of them. And we like to put that in there so that we can see it. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to highlight our like terms. Now, I'll notice that this time there's a G and an H. So there are 2 variables here. The variables are different, so those cannot be combined with each other. But for standard form, that added piece that I talked about, we're going to go with alphabetical order since they both have variables. So I'm going to write my G's first. So when I highlight, I'm going to highlight my G variables first. So I see positive 5G. So we're going to highlight that with one color, and then the minus 1G. These are my like terms. So when I put those two together, 5G minus 1G gives me 4G. That's why we could put them together, because they were all the same variable. Now I'm going to look back through, and we already talked about we had another variable, this h, but there are no other h variables in the question, so -12h means I'm going to put that next to the 4g. Now notice I could put plus a -12, but I just like to keep one sign. I don't like to have the plus and negative. You could, it would be equivalent, but I usually just write it as the minus. And then finally, when I look up above, this is why we needed that third color. In this question, we had two variables that couldn't be combined, h and a g, and then we also had a constant. So there are three different terms in this answer because I had three different terms and nothing canceled in there. So my final at the end is going to be a +8. That +8 is a constant. There were no other constants that I could combine with. So this is my answer, 4g minus 12h plus 8. Okay, on to number 3 here. So we have negative 21w plus 5 plus 3w, and you'll notice again there's just a minus there. After that minus, I want you to fill in the number 1. Okay, now that you have this whole problem, we're going to look for like terms. So when I look here, again, keeping in mind standard form, I'm going to look for variables first. I only see w's in my question, no other variables. So I'm just going to highlight my like terms, the w's. So I have a negative 21w. And notice I'm always highlighting the sign that's in front of my number here. So like the 3 plus 3w, I'm highlighting the plus and the 3w, helping me remember that it's a positive 3w. So I have a negative 21w plus 3w. If we put that in our calculator, remember, our calculators can't handle the variables because it'll program it as some number. It's not what we want. We just want to know that there are negative 21 plus 3 more. So we just need to put the numbers in our calculator. Negative 21 plus 3. And then we need to know the reason we put them together is because they were w's. So when I write what my calculator told me, which was that negative 21 plus 3 is negative 18, then I'm going to put that w in with it because I knew that we had like terms that we were putting together. Now, everything's not highlighted yet. I still have more to look for. I have a positive 5, which is a constant, and a negative 1, which is also a constant. So I can put those two together. In your calculator, you can type in 5 minus 1, which will give us a 4. So plus 4 in my answer. So our final answer that we're going to circle is the negative 18w plus 4. Okay, on to another example. Okay, next example here we have f minus 3f plus 2g minus g, and you notice it's missing something again. Plus, I need you to fill in a 1 after that plus. That's what's missing there. Now, while we're filling things in, I'm also going to add some 1s in front of my variables so that I know that f by itself really just means that there is one f there. And that g by itself over here, the minus g, means that it's actually a negative 1g. So I want you to put those 1s and negative 1 in there so that we know what we're looking for. The next thing I want to do is go through, and again, because there are more than one variable, this time I see the f and I see g. So I'm going to go alphabetical when I look for standard form. So my f variable is going to go together first. So I have 1f and a minus 3f. These are like terms right next to each other, so I'm just highlighting both of them. They're going to need to be combined. 1f minus 3f. Again, if we put it in our calculator, we're just putting them 1 minus 3 to get negative 2. The reason we put them together is because they were f variables. So that's why I have an f next to it. Then as I'm looking along, I see a plus 2g minus 1g. Both g variables, same variable, same exponent. So I'm going to combine those. 2g minus 1g just gives me 1g. So you can either write in your answer as plus 1g, or you could just write plus g. Either one would be fine. So to stick with the consistency of what we were doing, I'm going to put the 1 in front of the g so that you can see that 1 as well. And the next thing I see, I still have this plus 1 that I haven't included in my answer yet. It hasn't been combined yet. There's no other constants to combine with, so I'm just going to put a plus 1 at the end. So my answer here is the negative 2f plus 1g plus 1. Okay, so a lot of work so far, At the bottom here, we have a lot of space under combined like terms. So if you could, give me a face down there to show me how you feel so far with 4 examples. Smiley face if you're feeling great. Straight face if you're feeling like I could still use a little help. Sad face if this is pretty confusing and you feel like you need more practice. So go ahead and put that in the space under combining like terms at the bottom of this page 11 in your note packet. All right, another example. Okay, number 5. Again, you'll notice there's something missing. It just says plus at the end there, so I want you to put a 1 there. Plus 1. I'm also looking to see if I need to add any number ones with variables that don't have a coefficient, which remember is the number in front of the variable. But when I look here, I see everything does have a coefficient, so I don't need to put any ones in there. So now I'm just going to look for my like terms. I'm looking through and I see there are x variables. I don't see any other letters or letters with exponents. So these are what I'm going to combine. I see a 10x. I see a positive 14x. I'm going to highlight both of those. Now, what might be a little confusing is we see a plus, which means that we just have more terms coming, and then it's actually a negative 2x. So when I'm looking to combine the like terms, it's a negative 2x that I'm combining with it. You could put plus a negative 2 in your calculator and it would give you the same answer. But I need to remember that this is actually a negative 2, not a plus 2. So that's why I didn't highlight the plus and I just highlighted the negative here. 10x plus 14x minus 2x. That's what we're putting together. Again, if you want to highlight the plus, that's fine too, because we are just adding a negative 2. Either way, you will get the same answer if in your calculator you type 10. Remember, we're not typing the x, so just 10 plus 14 minus 2, or 10 plus 14 plus a negative 2. When you do either of those ways, you should get the same answer of 22x. Now, if I'm looking through, looking for my constants, I see a negative 5 and a positive 1. So in my calculator, negative 5 plus 1 gives me negative 4. So my answer is 22x minus 4. And you want to remember to give that a circle, so I know that this is your answer, 22x minus 4. All right, another example, we have negative 7x plus 4x minus 9y plus 2y, and you'll notice there's just a minus there. I need you to add this time a 3. We're subtracting 3 in this spot right here. So now when I combine my like terms, I'm going to look and I see x and a y. So we're going to go alphabetical. Negative 7x plus 4x, they're like terms, they're both x's. Looking through the rest, I don't see any other x variables, so that's it for my x. In my calculator, negative 7 plus 4 gives me a negative 3x. On to my next variable I see, which is the y, negative 9y plus 2y. So in my calculator, negative 9 plus 2 gives me a negative 7. So after my negative 3x, I need to have a minus 7y. And then finally, I have a constant all by itself, a negative 3 here. So at the end, after my minus 7y, I'm going to type in a minus 3. So you're going to write down minus 3 as your answer at the end there. So my final answer that you're writing is negative 3x minus 7y minus 3. Okay, we'll do more of this in class. Hope you have a great night. See you tomorrow.